This city, this is a special city. They deserve everything that's going on. We got one more.
The Philadelphia Eagles are heading back to the big toaster in the desert, back in the Super Bowl for the 4th time.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Go a touchdown, 1, 2, 3.
They take on a team that knows a little thing or two about the stage they're taking.
How about those?
The Kansas City Chiefs back in the final dance for the 3rd time in 4 years.
I don't know who the hell they think they was. Calling this Burrowhead.
You can doubt the Chiefs. You can dislike the Chiefs. You can disrespect the Chiefs. You're gonna have to deal with the Chiefs.
You don't think they bum back to Cincinnati?
This is the final fight to see who sits atop the 2022 NFL Game of Thrones.
Give me everything you got. Yeah. Everything you got. Believe in each other. Fly around. Let's find a way to win a football game.
The initial belief among those that are supposed to know, only a point or so difference between the two. It makes sense. We have the best of the best in this year's Super Bowl, the AFC's #1 seed.
You gotta fight for your right to party!
And it's the #1 team on the NFC side, only the 6th time that the two numero unos have made it all the way to the final dance since 2000.
I can't wait till Kansas City and Philly clash. It's gonna be awesome, man.
How fitting, the two guys expected to vie for the MVP trophy, vying for the one they both want more.
I've been in the Super Bowl, man, and winning it's a lot better than losing it.
Got a chance to go out there and win it all, so we want to prepare to go do that.
It's the first time in NFL history two black QBs have faced off in a Super Bowl as starters. At a combined 51 years and 337 days, it'll be the youngest two QBs to square off.
Hey, why wait? Why wait?
What a final game this could be. In one corner, the 3rd highest scoring offense in football.
Some of us thought this would be a close game, but so far it has been total domination.
They can't stop us. We going. The only person that can stop us is us.
And the other, the top scoring offense in the NFL this year.
Stops, spins, flips it forward for the touchdown!
We're not done. We're not done. Let's go.
Chiefs O, powered by one Patrick Mahomes.
Keeps the ball in his right hand, trying to stay alive. Dives for the far front pylon.
We got a warrior back there, a quarterback, going into the biggest game of the season.
I touched him.
I know 1-5 is going to give us a chance to win it.
His candidacy for MVP built on a season that saw him get better year over year, despite the Cheetah scampering off to Florida. Then came his Maximus game.
We done heard everything they can say all week.
I think guys were probably the most pumped up I'd seen them going into a football game.
We're going to show what that Burrowhead look like tonight.
326 yards, 2 touchdowns,
A lot of trash talk coming from a lot of different places.
a rating over 105 in the conference championship game.
You got Burrowhead.
With the bum ankle,
No one picked us to win. If so, it was like 5% of people.
against a top-tier defense in frigid weather,
I mean, the mayor came at me, man. I mean,
with half his wideout core watching from the sideline, hurt.
Juju Smith-Schuster going down. Kadarius Toney out. McCole Hardman going down.
Mahomes' last run of the game, gladiator-esque. Yes, as a matter of fact, we were entertained.
Mahomes trying to buy some time on that bad ankle. Moving to his right. He is now scrambling, and he's going to get a first down. And now gets hit late. He gets hit late. He gets hit late.
Mahomes' ankle.
you can see that I didn't have that burst that I usually have.
How much better will it be when he takes his first snap in the desert?
I didn't expect to be able to run very much, just from the way it felt.
The mullet-headed sax player better be working OT these next few weeks. Mahomes will need as much mobility as possible in order to evade the fiercest pass rush in the game.
Here comes the rush. They got him again! This defense is roaring!
Ring the bell for our first big matchup, Eagles pass rush versus Mahomes protectors.
You know, you want to try to make the quarterback feel as uncomfortable as possible.
Maybe the biggest matchup on this side of things, because you have a Philly pass rush that racked up 70 QBs on the year, 3rd most ever for a season.
Reddick's got him again! Another sack for Reddick!
Going mano a mano with an offensive line that allowed the 3rd fewest sacks on the 5th most pass attempts, only one team had a lower sack percentage.
Outstanding protection in the pocket. Leaves a lot of time for this play to develop.
For Mahomes to pull off some more LaRusso crane kicks, he has to be able to move or have time. We saw what it was like when he was hurt and had an elite pass rush all over him a few years ago in their Super Bowl loss to Tampa Bay.
Sack!
at the 21-yard line.
Mahomes is running for his life back there.
So his big uglies will be under a lot of pressure to perform. Hassan Reddick almost single-handedly ended San Francisco.
He's been a bad dude all year.
2 sacks, forced fumble recovery. He's the Eagles' lead gardener, planted 16 QBs in 2022.
Oh my goodness, this guy is so good at getting to the quarterback.
Reddick usually goes up against right tackles.
Everything we got.
So he'll get Andrew Wiley. Mentioned Wiley's sack total for the year in our last KC preview. Last chance to pay Mr. Rooney his due respect this year. Say it with me. 9 times.
Andrew Wiley could not hold Max Crosby out that time, and for Andrew Wiley, his 8th sack allowed.
On the left side, it's Orlando Brown, 4 sacks allowed. He finished tied for 17th in PFF's rankings. Good year. Against Josh Sweat, who usually comes in off that side, an 11-sack guy this season.
Look out, bang from what? The backside there with Josh Sweat knocking it out.
Their pass rush is so deep, the guy that spells Sweat and Reddick, another 11-sack guy, Brandon Graham.
Can't get tired of whooping ass.
So the tackles never get a break.
Brandon Graham has himself a quarterback.
Boy.
Go inside now. Kansas City's right guard, Trey Smith, 24th best guard, 2 sacks allowed. Taking on Fletcher Cox, who tends to rush off that side. 7 sacks for the big man this year.
Pressured by Cox. Sacked by Fletcher Cox.
The real heavyweight bout in here, left guard Joe Tooney, 11th best guard, 1 sack allowed against Javon Hargrave, sack in the conference game, the 4th member of the 11-plus sack club.
He's so quick with that first step for a 300-pound guy. It's over.
Oh, and Ndamukong Suh gives Cox and Hargrave breaks, and they have Robert Quinn just hanging around. It's relentless.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Chiefs do have the luxury of an elite center to help in the middle. Creed Humphrey was deemed second best snapper in 2022.
Let's go put this game away, man. Let's go.
Of course, part of the reason KC's sack total was so low and their passing game so explosive, Mahomes' ability to evade pressure.
Like, that fear puts that speed into me, bro. Like they should have had somebody like chasing me on my 40. I'd have ran like 4.4.
Hobbled in the conference game, he took 3 sacks and was under pressure 34.8% of the time.
I got the ball out of my hands quickly. I think you saw that. I think there was probably a few more checkdowns than I usually would throw.
He only faced pressure 25% of the time in the regular season, and now he's going to try and dodge an avalanche.
And it's sack number 8, and the dominant performance from the Philadelphia defense continues.
How often will Philadelphia blitz Mahomes? On the surface, why? Why blitz someone who torches 5+? His ankle doesn't impact his vision. He can read defenses just fine. 8 for 11, 125 yards, a touchdown, a rating over 140 against Cincinnati.
So he threw the hand up, and I couldn't really see in front of him, so I tried to throw a line drive to him.
Mahomes will fire it late for the end zone. Caught! Marquez Valdes-Scantling!
He has eyes all over his head, and he made it happen.
He beat Jacksonville's blitz with relative ease, combined it all with his 2022 numbers against 5+, and you'll see why it's best for Philadelphia to avoid the ballroom.
They fake to Pacheco. They want a throwback. Coming to the near side, Marquez Valdes-Scantling makes a terrific catch, snatching it from the sky!
The Chiefs face a pass rush and secondary that enjoy a symbiotic relationship. Like I knew that word before Qui-Gon used it. Point is, they are linked. The Philadelphia secondary Mahomes faces one of the best in the NFL. Everyone knows stopping Kansas City's passing attack starts with stopping Travis Kelce.
Turn it up a notch. Turn it up a notch.
Difference between Kelce and the next best tight end this season, like the one between Morgan Freeman's voiceover and mine.
Now they throw it near side. Kelce's got it. Touchdown! Kansas City! 2 touchdown receptions in this game.
Just keep practicing, Mo. You'll get there.
Hey now.
Travis had a dominant season capped with the first team thing. He had a big showing in the conference championship game. He's him, as some might say.
Touchdown! Kansas City! Mahomes to Kelce in the postseason for the 13th time.
The closest thing to a one-on-one with him could happen if Philly assigns C.J. Gardner-Johnson to Kelce.
Big time players, they
play big-time plays and big-time games.
He's played the slot and safety for them at a very high level, so he would make sense as the primary Kelsey handler.
Hey now.
He lets it go downfield, and it is intercepted. C.J. Gardner-Johnson with the ball.
Eagles faced a decent number of pass attempts to tight ends this year, only allowed 3 TDs, picked off 4 passes intended for the big men, 5th lowest rating allowed. Eagles linebackers Kaiser White and TJ Edwards played the pass well this season. Ratings allowed under 81, 7 passes defensed each. That's a good number for a linebacker.
The set of a screen, McCaffrey has some room. Oh, it's well played. Kaiser White was there.
Always hard to say who will start on the outside for Kansas City game by game, made harder by all the injuries they took in the conference championship game. We'll have to track the injury news with KC's wide receiver core. The biggest, Juju Smith-Schuster. He hurt his knee. He was second most targeted behind Kelsey for them this season, so they would love to have him out there.
Smith-Schuster take it off down the sideline.
Then you have guys who sort of fill out the picture, but they're still important. Justin Watson didn't play against the Bengals. He was sick, so he should return. Mecole Hardman left that game hurt, didn't come back. Kadarius Toney, the same. Eagles will have to trace MVS. Marquez Valdes-Scantling was the star versus the Bengals, 6 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown. If Aaron was watching, he was like, oh, now you don't have the drops? Valdes-Scantling has scored in both their playoff games now.
On the run to the end zone. It's caught on his back. Valdes-Scantling.
81.7.
You got here to go get it, man. Right.
That's the rating Philadelphia held wide receivers to this season, 5th best or lowest. Avonte Maddox, Gardner Johnson, Darius Slay, all of them held QBs to a rate below 80.
Cousins to the end zone and intercepted. What a night for Darius Slay.
And the most underrated cornerback of the year in my book, James Bradbury, rating under 60. No Waldos in the bunch, elite group that put up elite numbers.
Bill steps up. Bill's firing. Intercepted. That'll do it.
I take it back. The one dude wearing the red and white cap in Philly in pass coverage this season, safety Marcus Epps. And the one area their defense was below average in this season, running backs and how they handled them. And it was in the passing game too, rating allowed in the mid-90s.
They set up a screen and it worked to perfection, gaining 30 yards.
Mahomes, hurt ankle or not, utilizes his backs on the regular.
You good one, side? We got you, brother.
Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco were vital as pass catchers in the conference game win. 7 catches for 76 yards.
Fake it to Pacheco. Now they're going to throw it over his way. Wilson trying to get the angle, and Pacheco tiptoes down the sideline and picked up the first down.
Random related note, Mahomes led the league in passing, Eagles fewest passing yards per game allowed. The last 2 times the number 1 passing yards per game guy faced the number 1 passing yards per game defense in the Super Bowl, Rich Gannon versus Tampa Bay, Peyton Manning versus Seattle. Number 1 defense won by an average of 31 points.
That's what the I'm talking about. That's what the I'm talking about.
Sarah Lynn, that's too much, man.
Hey, at will.
The X-Factor matchup, Philadelphia's rush defense versus Kansas City's run game. Chiefs don't run a lot, but Pacheco did average close to 5 a carry, and he's been a solid contributor along the ground since Week 10. You can't ignore him.
The violent running style of Isaiah Pacheco, you're not going to ankle tackle number 10.
He had a really rough go of it versus Cincinnati, but maybe his fortunes turn versus Philadelphia. Bengals run defense, one of the best versus running backs. Eagles is not. They don't really care. It caused them to maybe stumble once. That TD they gave up to CMC was a little embarrassing, though, no?
Touchdown! CMC!
This makes for a natural transition to Philadelphia's offense, which uses a 4-horseman approach to plowing through most defenses.
It's just like I said, man, we all gonna eat.
Hard not to think the biggest matchup on this side, Kansas City's run defense versus Philadelphia's ground game, which they used 3rd most in the league, which features a 3-headed running back attack. Boston Scott scored in their last 3 games. That's a lot of 3s.
Racing around the edge, Scott is in! Touchdown, Philadelphia!
Kenneth Gainwell led them in carries versus San Francisco. He had a big playoff game versus New York. And Miles Sanders, 1,200-plus yards in the regular season, visited Bob Ross Town twice versus the 49ers.
Big room and a
Touchdown for Sanders, his second.
And then there is Jalen Hurts, making it harder for KC's defenders to play those running backs because you can never tell when he's going to keep it.
Pressure coming out of the secondary. Hurts saw it and took off. End zone ahead. Touchdown. He straight up sliced them.
Hurts has a chance at history. He ran for 700-plus yards, scored more rushing TDs regular season and playoffs combined than any other QB ever. He would be the first real true dual-threat QB to hoist the Lombardi Trophy.
Hurts will run. Takes it in. Touchdown.
Oh, but Steve Young ran for, yeah, I know, but it's still different. Delving into Kansas City's play versus running backs and running QBs individually doesn't do much good. They have to play the run-pass option well. They played the passing half of the puzzle well this season, not the running side, giving up 4.7 yards per carry on RPOs, tied for 19th.
Gotta charge him up just a little.
The Eagles' RPO isn't like any KC has faced. That could be a good thing or a bad thing, I guess. Kansas City defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo has 2 weeks to come up with a game plan to try and stop it. Linebackers Willie Gay and Nick Bolton are going to have to show big.
This game's not over. It's a two-possession game. You give up the score, they get an onside kick, right? Play your ass off.
But the best news for Kansas City, the best way to disrupt the RPO, having a defensive tackle who can penetrate early. Cue the King Kong Bundy, Andre the Giant-sized matchup, Chris Jones versus Philadelphia's interior lineman. Jones is a beast.
Comes Chris Jones after him. Chris Jones got him.
When you need your best players to step up to send you to Super Bowl, none better. Finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, and he should be. Best season of his career.
Sterling, seriously? Are we not using phrasing anymore? No one doubled more often in the game in 2022, and he still led all defensive tackles in win rate.
And he's going to be hit. Chris Jones got him in a bear hug. Chris Jones just took the game in his own hands.
Jones, 15.5 sacks on the season. He bagged Burrow 2 times.
And that, believe it or not, for Chris Jones, is his first career postseason sack.
And if the game is cruising along and he's being quiet, just wait for it. As pass rushers are concerned, he's pretty clutch. Pretty clutch. 8 of his 17.5 total sacks came in the fourth quarter. No one had more.
Smith in trouble. Down he goes. Chris Jones, and that is how this ends.
He won't be the only one after Hurts, Jalen having to get away from a pass rush that hung up an elite sack total. The Chiefs were second in QB takedowns in 2022, put Burrowhead's face in Arrowhead's turf 5 times.
Now they're after him. They got him. That's Clark who finishes it off. Dana got to him first.
Philadelphia, they gave up 44 sacks. That's too much time watching Friday or Dazed and Confused. Over 2 times a game with a QB's face in the grass isn't good.
Hurts tries to run, cannot.
But in Hurts' case, it comes with the territory, and most of the times he was dragged down weren't the O-line's fault. It's an elite unit. He only faced pressure on 22.9% of his pass attempts. That's pretty low.
First pass play from Jalen Hurts, who's well protected. Wants Smith, perfectly thrown.
Jones moves outside occasionally, but most of the times he's in the middle of Philadelphia's line, led by the other half of the Kelsey Bowl. Jason, third best center in PFF's book, 0 sacks allowed. The guards, 2 sacks allowed. Not a piece, combined.
Hey, I went for that because you guys. You're tired. Great job.
Track guard Landon Dickerson, though, he had a great year and then hurt his elbow versus San Francisco and left the game. The mountain with legs on their line, right tackle Lane Johnson. Sacks allowed, zip, 0, nada. Left tackle Jordan Mailata, he gave up 6. As Sharon might put it, that'd be classy if he was wine tasting, but not pass protecting. On a great line, he is the weakest link.
Pocket collapsing, being chased by Justin Hollins, who gets him.
So you'd expect Frank Clark to try and take advantage of that side. Clark has sacks in each of their postseason games.
Lawrence cannot escape, and he's brought down to the middle by Clark. And that time, Frank Clark gets yet another playoff sack.
Kansas City rookie George Karlaftis, 6-sack season, got to Burrow as well.
With Burrow facing the heat again, and sack number 4. Karlaftis, the rookie, out of Purdue, gets him this time.
Those guys will also be tasked with trying to stop the Philadelphia QB sneak. The big push, as they call it, worked 29 of 33 tries in 2022.
He'll sneak it again. Hurts looking for a push from behind. He is waiting for a signal in. Touchdown, Eagles.
It played a big role in their red zone offense being third best. The Chiefs' defense, 31st inside the 20. They faced 14 sneaks, only stopped one.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. We know what to do. Stay the course.
Part of the problem Spags is dealing with, the Eagles aren't just an RPO offense. They morph based on what the defense is trying to take away. So they can easily turn back into a drop-back team with a great scrambling quarterback behind that stacked line. Hurts the passer had a great year, rating over 100, hefty 8 yards per attempt and 12 yards per completion, averaged close to 250 yards, and again, that team didn't throw a lot.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for your help.
So why would Spagnuolo still prefer to push the Eagles to pass? Hurts had a good game in the divisional round, but a sub-73 rate in 3 of his last 4 now. Didn't have to do much versus San Francisco, but 4.8 yards per attempt wasn't the goal.
Hurts another quick throw. A.J. Brown again getting a block from Pascal. Good tackle. Jimmy Ward right out there.
Hard to know how his shoulder is from being 100. If it's close to normal, he's got some matchups you'd think he'd love. His 2 1,100-plus yard receivers, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, against 2 rookies. Kirk C. would like that.
I'm telling you, bro, we keep it up, bro, at this rate, bro. We're gonna win like the best celebration award, bro.
Kansas City's rookie duo, Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, they're on the spot. They both got better as the year went along. Watson came up with an INT versus Burrow in the conference game, has one in both playoff games.
Burrow up top, and he is intercepted by Watson.
Watson also gave up 77 yards and a touchdown to Burrow, a 104.7 rating. McDuffie gave up 77 yards as well, a 107.4 rating. Didn't handle Cincinnati's A-level receivers well, which they'll face more of in the Super Bowl.
Here's the pass. Oh, what a catch! Leaping into the air and pulling it down.
Chiefs also have Dallas Goedert to deal with. The Eagles, with all their skill players together, only lost 1 game all year.
Hurts will look to throw. He's got Goedert with a one-handed catch. Dallas Goedert in. Touchdown, Philadelphia.
Kansas City did not play tight ends well at all in 2022. To be honest, they really didn't play any position all that great. But Hurts is facing the playoff Chiefs, and that's a different story.
Lawrence up top. This is high contact and incomplete for Christian Kirk. Juan Thornhill on the back end.
KC faced Trevor Lawrence, equipped with a solid pass-catching group. Then Joe I'm Sorry ahead of time and his guys. In those 2 games, rating allowed 72.2, 2 touchdowns against 3 picks.
And it's intercepted. What a play by Jalen Watson.
They've held up against all 3 pass-catching types, too, in the last 2 games. All 3 picks thrown in the direction of wideouts.
Everything we do, we're together. We learn, we grow, we are together. We are a brotherhood.
They have gotten good play as of late from safety Justin Reed and cornerback Joshua Williams.
Down the field to Higgins. Oh, and it's tapped away and intercepted. That was Cook who got a hand on it, and then it was Williams who was able to catch it.
We'll have to see if cornerback L'Jarius Sneed can make it back. He left with a concussion. He's an important piece to that secondary.
Wilson throwing it, it's intercepted. Picked off around the 42-yard line by L'Jarius Sneed.
All right, both teams' offenses great on 3rd down. Both teams' defenses mediocre on the biggest down in football. The laundry room, neither team really stands out. Average-ish on both sides of the ball. Chiefs, special teams, kickoff coverage, faulty at times. Eagles, Boston Scott, 27.1 yards per return, 4th highest had he had enough returns to qualify.
Boston Scott over close to 30 and a good return.
Philadelphia kicking game, Jake Elliott, 20 of 23 on field goal attempts in 2022, that's 87%, has made 16 of his last 17, 51 of 53 on extra points, 56 is long.
Kick is up and it is good.
Kansas City's Harrison Butker, pretty money in the conference game, obviously. He had the longest field goal of the year at 62 yards.
Butker from 45 yards. All the way, it's good.
Nick Sirianni, first trip to the big show, is in year 2. Doug Peterson won in his 2nd year for the Eagles.
First and foremost, we got the most wins in franchise history, right? But we want so much more.
This is only the 10th time these 2 teams will have ever played each other. Eagles fans get to berate their old head coach. I know that, dude. Andy Reid against his old team. In his career, by the way, he's 3-0 against them.
Nice to meet you in person. Thanks, Darren.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Yeah. Good luck today.
Be careful what you wish for. The winner of the MVP hasn't won the Super Bowl in decades. Mahomes and Hurts are like, hey, JJ, it's yours, buddy.
I'm trying to keep it quiet, man. Fans, they get loud sometimes. I'm trying to help them too. I know.
State of Texas should be tuning in. First Super Bowl featuring 2 starting quarterbacks born there. Both teams already played at State Farm. Eagles won a close one. KC housed the Cardinals. Whoever wins will have more victories at State Farm than Arizona did this season.
No good. It's no good. It is wide right. He missed it. The officials hesitated, and he missed it.
Time to complete the Super Bowl preview by adding your analysis, thoughts, musings. We all know some unexpected rando plays a big role in the Super Bowl.
Next song. That's a Waka.
Who's it gonna be this year? Tell the world and make sure to post your official Super Bowl 56 score prediction.
I just want to thank God, man.
Woo! Burrowhead my ass. Woo! It's Mahomes' house.
Hey, all the thanks in the world to everyone out there for making game previews what they are, not blowing smoke up your, having thousands of co-authors help every week. It's the only way to make sure other fans find at least a little football IQ in here or on here. Getting to do this is like winning the lottery anyway. And the ones who know, I ain't perfect, but I always own it. It's the way of Game Preview Guy. I don't get a cool silver mask though, just this bad. Here are the final picks from the panel. Congrats to NFL.com writer Eric Edholm for his first place finish, Colleen Wolfe a nice runner-up, and NFL.com writer Kevin Patra finishing third. Have a great Super Bowl, everybody!